And by that time I was chapel prefect. And I went to the university. I was in 1974, just a few years ago. I was the Bible study coordinator. We have the Bible study coordinator here. So we are doing the same job with a 50-year gap. Yeah, and then 1975, I became the university chairman. In our time, we were not asked which university. There was only one university. And then I've had opportunities from then to lead. So I'm sharing a few of my mistakes so that the ones who are becoming leaders do not repeat my mistakes. That's why all the people are important. If only they share the mistakes, it will ensure we don't copy their mistakes. That's why they have invited me. Because the older you are, the more mistakes you have made. And it helps people, even if they still must make their own mistakes, at least make original mistakes. Don't repeat mine. And that's why I'm here. So we'll be looking at King David's life as a leader. I regard him the very best leader. And I've read many leadership books. I have admired many leaders. But so far, I haven't come across any leader, living or dead, who can approximate the level of King David. We'll be looking at some of his failures. We'll be looking at some of the examples we can follow. We'll be looking at his spiritual life that prepared him to be such a big leader. And we'll be looking at his integrity that placed him in leadership. One of my leadership books is called Integrity, the Litmus Test of Good Leadership. Arguing like David teaches us that without integrity, you cannot be much of a leader. And I think that will be important for us. Let me say a few things right at the introduction. And I'm using my timer, but I can see I have another timer over there, which is deducting my time more than mine. So I'll follow mine. No, that I was given 50 minutes. And I've just had, according to my time, I've only used 3 minutes so far. Number one, know that all followers are leaders but elsewhere. The moment you start thinking, because you're the chairman of the CU, that others are not leaders, you are cheating yourself. Some of the people here who have never taken a leadership in the Christian Union are the youth leaders of their church. Am I right? Yes. When they are in their church, oh, chairman. Here, nobody knows you. Now, you need to understand. You need to understand that some of the leaders among us assume because they are leading, others are not leaders. That is lying to yourself. And when you lie to yourself, you end up performing badly. Be honest. You only happen to be a leader here and happen to be a leader elsewhere, but we are both leaders. We are equals. It's only that I practice mine elsewhere and you practice yours here. It's a very important thing, because the moment you are conscious of that, pride never enters your life. Are you getting the point? You can't say, but you know, I'm the Bible study coordinator like I was 50 years ago. You Bible study leaders, listen to me. What's wrong with you? Now, once you realize that this Bible study leader is actually the chairman elsewhere, and his youth group may be bigger than you are seeing, now you start understanding you must be very careful how you deal with him. Are we together? Yes. Very, very important point, which if you miss, there is a pride that enters your life. And the Bible tells us pride comes before a fall. So the first thing we learn of King David. And if he didn't want to learn it, he was anointed to be a leader. And for the next 14 years, King Saul continued to be there, and King Saul wanted to kill him. You know the story, isn't it? So he was a leader, but he knew there was another leader. That's one of the most important. If you don't hear much of what I'm going to say, that's one of them. And by the way, I hear there are 3 services, so I'll give 3 parts of my talk. So I'll not repeat during the second service what I have said now. So when you meet them, tell them, this is being recorded, am I right? Are you recording? So tell them they must listen to the record to hear part 1. But also to now. Only to be fair, you also know you must also listen to the recording of part 2 and 3. Isn't that fair? Everyone will listen to 2. So that's my most important point to myself as a leader and to you. That everybody is a leader. It's only a leader, sir. Even if you are not a leader in a youth group, you happen to be the firstborn in your family. As far as your siblings are concerned, who are you? Now, my sister went to university. I'm also going to. Are you not leading? Yeah. Or my sister has started taking drugs. I'm also going to take. That shows you are a leader. A bad leader, but still. It's important to understand we are all leaders in different ways. By the way, you may be the last born, but the only son of your mother who has gone to a university. So your older brother says, how is university? Do people fly or walk? Now, as far as they are concerned, although you are the last one, you are still. I convince you, we are all leaders. Why do I regard us as leaders? Because my definition of leadership is influence. You are not a leader until you influence. Not command, but, and there's a big difference between commanding and influencing. Influencing means people of their own volition choose to follow what you are saying. The word leader means somebody who is followed. You are not a leader unless you have somebody following. If you call yourself a leader and nobody is following, please know you are taking a walk. You are not leading. Are we together? Because leadership is, you are not a leader unless somebody is following. And for the people to follow you on their own volition, 3 things must happen. Number 1, they must trust you. Because if you are going, if they suspect you want to rape them when you reach the forest, are they likely to follow you? No, they will go. When they see you go this way, they choose the opposite direction. So the first and most important thing in leadership is trust. Because trust is the one that makes somebody to go to a direction he has never gone because he believes you cannot be misleading him. That's the most important. Trust. Number 2 is getting a vision of the future. And I'll be coming back to it. In other words, we believe that the leader knows something we don't know. So you cannot call yourself a leader and you don't know where you are going. It will be very difficult for you to do leading. That's why when you are called a CU chairman, when you are appearing for the meeting, you have gone through the whole agenda, you have looked for information, you know something the committee members do not know. You cannot just appear. Where's the agenda? Number 3, what is that? Now, you should have known what it is before coming. As soon as the committee discovers you know nothing, you will still continue having the title chairman, but you will not be their leader. They know that Sister Atieno, although she is nothing in the committee, she always better prepared. So when you say agenda 3, they don't touch the chairman, they turn Sister Atieno. Because the real leader is not the chairman. The real leader is Sister Atieno. Because what makes you a leader is not a title. It is that ability to be trusted and that ability to know something about the subject that others do not yet know. Are we together? That is a very important thing to, because that's, and by the way, it's not a question. The moment you are discussing something and somebody needs to know, like for example, we want to go for a trip in Naivasha, and you hear somebody tell you Naivasha is on the way to Meru. Now, since you know the last time you had, that was not Naivasha. He can continue being the team leader, but you're not looking for somebody else. Am I communicating? It's critical that you know something. So that, and thirdly, if you really want to be a leader, not only must you be trusted, not only must you be visionary, you must be consistent. Consistent means what you say is what you Do. You say you are making 1,000 kilometers, you don't make 0. At least you make 800. Now you are going to us keeping your promise. Are you together? The moment you don't trust him, it will make it very difficult for you to lead us. The moment you don't know where you are going, it will be difficult to lead you. The moment you are not consistent, you cannot be predicted, there will be a problem with you. So it's important to understand that all of us are leaders because all of us have people we are able to influence. That's what we're talking about. Number 2, know that the leader is also a follower elsewhere. In other words, here you are the leader, there you are. In fact, one of the things that shocks people, I left university in the 1970s, and by the time we are finished university, people were calling us. That's when the term elder started. You are being called an elder, although you are just a small boy. But you need to understand, as an elder, you feel old. All the first day you are thinking you are very old. Then I got a job in a bank. And they started saying, where is that young man who came to the bank? It's confusing. I was an elder yesterday, now I'm the new young man. It's important to understand that if you don't understand that concept, you'll be in trouble. To understand, you are leading one place and following another. And generally speaking, if you are not a good follower, you are likely to become a good leader. It's important to understand, do not start assuming you'll be a leader everywhere. You'll be a leader here, but not a leader there, and you should be able to switch careers, switch roles as necessary. That's the way you'll be able to lead well in your place, because you're not trying to lead well everywhere. In other words, you are leader of the chairman, then you are chairman of the CU, then you go to the classroom and you say, hey, keep quiet. Who are you? Here we know who you are. But in the classroom we don't know. After all, you are not putting a one from the back. Now it's very important to understand. You can continue leading here, but if you try to lead there, you will spoil your CV. And it will be, even in the CU, they start doubting you. So it's important to understand, even if you are a leader here, you are a follower elsewhere. Number 3, you are a leader, and I've already said it in my introduction, because you have a vision for the group. The first time you're appointed a leader, before you start leading, ask yourself, why does this group exist? If you can't tell why it exists, you start taking them the wrong direction. Soon enough, you'll lose trust, and you'll not be able to lead them. So do not bother with the details before you establish why does this group exist. You have just been asked to help your sister to organize a wedding, and you are the chair of the organizing committee. Please understand the vision is a good wedding. What's the vision? To produce a good wedding for your sister. So everything you do, you have clarity of vision. We are here, and our delivery, what we deliver, a good wedding. Now, unfortunately, that is only the first item. Form a clear vision of what you are supposed to produce by the end, as a group by the end. Number 2, find out, do other people in the team have the same vision? Because you see, your vision is to help your sister to get the very best. Somebody else in the vision to learn how to prepare her for her wedding. So she's not quite bothered whether it's a good wedding or a bad wedding. She's learning and taking notes. Are you having the same vision? No. So the job of a leader is to get the whole group to have the same marking scheme. Are we together? And it's a very important role of a leader. So, for example, you may be called the Sunday school superintendent in your church. So you start talking and say, first of all, you must find out what's the vision of a Sunday school department. And they are not the same. Some of the Sunday school departments are in order to make the parents have a peaceful time. But children make noise, isn't it? So the work of Sunday school is to remove them out of the church so that they don't make noise for people. So as long as, even if you make them throw mud or do whatever, as long as they don't make noise for their parents, you have achieved. Now, but there are people who are teaching Sunday school, not so that the children keep quiet, but because of necessity These are people who have decided they want to produce the future president of the country. Do you see the vision changes? Because you see that child with the Makamasi coming out, and you must picture that child as the president of Kenya. Very difficult, isn't it? But as long as you start teaching the child with the Makamasi as Makamasi, your job will be, what can he hear? What can he understand? But the moment you see him, because your vision is of his future, and say, hiya, when this guy is a president at the age of 45, and I'll be 65 myself, I'll be proud that I had my input in producing this president. So you are thinking Sunday school deeper, isn't it? So your biggest responsibility as a leader is to get congruence between what vision one has and the other one. So if it's the same vision. For example, why does the CU exist? What's the vision of the CU? The vision of the CU is not to invite Mr. Nami. That's not the vision. The vision of the CU is to produce graduates, whatever the cost, who are going to be useful servants of our nation and of God. So we are not successful because we have had a rally. We are not successful because we have had a good Sunday service. We have a good CU. If the product of the CU are engineers or doctors or teachers who are serving the nation well. Can you see the vision? Now once that is, and remember it's not just vision, the vision is producing leaders who serve their nation and their God well. So you are interested, like now my CU of 50 years ago, they are interested to know, in my 70s, how am I living my life? Is there an input from the CU that is making John Nganga be who he is? That's why they exist. So please don't join the committee of the CU until you accept that big responsibility. Producing out of the CU members, leaders and servants of God who are going to serve their nation well. And you know, for you and like us, your vision is not Kenya. Your vision is the world, isn't it? And I know that because I have young people, you have a young person, you meet them here. Then I'm traveling somewhere. I remember being in Cape Town, and somebody stopped me and said, Brother Nana, what are you doing in Cape Town? Of course, I couldn't recall the young person. And he said, you can't remember, you may not remember me, but I was in Kenyatta University, and he used to come to preach to us. So I said, what are you doing in Cape Town? So he told me. And I realized, it's nowhere to go. I was in Khartoum, and again, a young man, he said, I know you can't remember me, but you are the one who led me to the Lord in 1988 in Kisi Boys. Of course I can't remember him. He must have been a very small person. Now he was the chief accountant of an NGO in Khartoum. I was in London, somebody stopped me and said, you can't remember me. Because I've been, at least for the last 50 years, I've never graduated from the CU. Because immediately I left campus, I was invited, within 3 months, I was invited back to speak. And I've been speaking in campus for the last 50 years. So I have, and you need to understand, I'm telling you that in order to know, we have literally no idea. These people listening to me in 10 years, where they are going to be in the whole world. So the work of the CU is to produce a kind of a person who will work for the UN in New York, or in Washington, D.C., or in Geneva. And he'll be so well equipped in his character and values that he'll do a good job for the benefit of the world and for the glory of God. That's the vision. That's why now every activity the CU does, they must check. How is that going to contribute to the vision? If it doesn't contribute, cancel it. It's not worth the effort of the CU. Not worth the money, not worth your time. The CU cannot do what that debating club is doing. Because the vision is not the same. We cannot do what we hear other universities are doing. Our vision is clear. So the work of a chairman is to ensure we all have the same vision so that we are able to work together. It will make it be very easy to make decisions in the committee. Why? If we have the same thing, you do not dismiss my suggestion because I'm short. You only dismiss it because I'm not able to convince you how it helps us to realize our vision. So that's very important. And I therefore, in order to, that's all my introduction, in order to actually then be able to achieve that vision, the first thing I suggest, and which I see in the life of King David, is to have an accepting and loving everybody as a core value. To be a good leader, accept and love all as a core value. In other words, you will not be a good leader if there's people you like and others you don't like. Because you're supposed, everybody in the CU, by the way, there are two types of people in the CU. There are people who are born again. There are people not yet born again. The work of the CU is not to minister and help only the people who are born again. It is to help everybody. So you must love everybody. Maybe I don't have enough time, but maybe I better say it here because I'm still at the vision level. What's a Christian union? A Christian union is a members club that exists for non-members. Did you hear that? A Christian union is a members club that exists for, and in Nairobi I belong to a private club. You can't pass the gate without saying whom you are visiting. Because the members club that exists for members. But the CU is different. The CU is a members club that exists for none. What do I mean? It's a members club. It is because you cannot be a CU in CU committee unless you are born again. Am I right, Chairman? You cannot be in the CU committee. So the CU is a members club because it's clear. If you look at this constitution, it doesn't just allow anybody to lead. Only people who are walking with the Lord and have the character that honors God. So it's a members club. But the difference with it is that its ministries are not geared just to the people that are born again. It is everybody on campus. Am I right? So it's a members club that exists for non-members. And it's important. So that's why I'm saying the first principle I want you to accept. If you are going to become a leader, you will be the kind of a person who is able to accept and love all as a core value. That's your value. That means some people are noisy, but you love them. Some people are rude, but you love them. Some people are simply nonsensical, but you love them. You cannot be a good leader until you are able to accept everybody. And that's very important. That's why, for example, when I became the CU chairman, I'm not talking about the current one, I'm talking about the one who will become chairman next time. So you know me, you are the current executive. But when I became the CU chairman in 1975, my listening to God was, although I hoped I would get a girlfriend when I'm still in campus, to know who to marry, I knew the day I was asked to become CU chairman, chances were out. Because the moment I start looking for a girlfriend, and the girl discover this is the girl I'm going for, they'll start being careful not to talk to the chairman in case the girlfriend gets annoyed. Why are you trying to get my boy? Now, so I wanted to be every girl's brother. And that can happen when one of them is my girlfriend. So I told God, I understand that. Between now and the time that my term of office is over, I am not interested. Don't show me who I'll marry. I will enjoy relating with all sisters as my sisters in the Lord. When a girl seems to be getting interested, I know she doesn't know what she is doing, I forgive her. But I am aware. As long as I'm still chairman, my requirement is to love and accept all sisters equally. Am I communicating? So sister, you start looking for a brother. The moment you have that brother, you have just made yourself very useless. Because all the other brothers will be careful, they are not seen as competition. Are we together? Amen. But as long as he is, I mean, every brother is your brother. Everybody is free with you. If they have a need, they'll come to you, isn't it? Okay, not too long ago, we called our friends the ones that had uniform in our wedding in 1979, 45 years ago. We called them for a dinner, just to remember. Not that white thing, just the inner circle. The people that had uniform in my wedding. We called them together. And my children and grandchildren were in the meeting. They really laughed as they heard my friends say that they thought because of the way I was in campus, I'm not ready to ever get married quick. You see, they actually could see. I love everybody equally. I'm not deciding who to go for. And they started giving up on me. Now you need to understand, and that's what we're telling you. The presence of my children and grandchildren said, you know, Nana surprised us when we realized there's something between them and Rebecca. On my way out, by that time I was finished campus and leaving, because I was totally sold to the work of God on campus, believing that one day, when it's necessary, because I'm not getting married on campus, when I need to get married, God will still be doing his work, isn't it? Maybe I should finish that testimony, should I? It's not my topic, but you can actually find the story in my book, Finding a Life Partner. But some of you have not read the book, isn't it? Is it in the library, the book? Does your CU library have my books? Now, if you tell me how many you have, I make a commitment to ensure all the other books I will donate. So it's the work of the chairman to follow me until all my books are in the library. So that I don't have... You know, I was thinking like I'm sacrificing for God to serve them. But you know, it would have been a waste of time. Because the girl I finally married was not in campus. So even if I was looking, I would have been wasting. God and somebody for me to marry and you are not in the University of Nairobi. Remember the country I don't want university. So for me to meet Rebecca, it required a presidential decree. So in 1926, as I handed over, Jomo Kenyatta was so unhappy with Idi Amin, he ordered that all Kenyan students in Makerere must be thrown out of Makerere. Those who can fit in our university will fit. But because Nairobi was a smaller university than Makerere, those where courses are not available in Nairobi, they will be taken anywhere in the world, the government will pay. Jomo Kenyatta had had enough of Idi Amin. So that's how a girl called Rebecca came to University of Nairobi, just before I headed over. But in time to meet her, today she is my wife. Now you need to understand, do not be too busy hunting. If you are God's child, if he wants you to meet her, you will meet her. Even if it requires President Putin to order her out of Russia. So my point is, you cannot be a good leader if you are not able to accept and love all that are in your relationship. For example, some of the non-Christians attend the scene, but they are doing terrible things. My friend, if you start disliking non-Christians and wanting to have nothing with them, you're not doing your job as CU chairman. Because your job as a CU chairman is to ensure that nobody leaves his university without being confronted with the gospel of Jesus Christ. It's not your job to save them. Your job is to show them who Jesus is. Are we together? Yes. But how will you do that when you don't like? You know, John 3:16, which you all know, it's a very powerful verse. It says, do you know John 3:16? For God so loved, who is the world? The witches are part of the world. The immoral people are part of the world. The drug addicts are part of the world. But God loved them all, isn't it? So you need to understand, if you are going to be like Jesus, that's one of the most important things in life. That's why in politics can be funny. You just dislike somebody and you impeach them. Now you need to understand. You need to understand, for you to be a good leader, you must accept I'm giving you principles and values that will help you be a good leader, which I drew out of the life of King David. And forgiveness is a sign you do not accept all. Unforgiveness. Inability to forgive somebody who has hurt you. There are people carrying out so many hurts. You remember how your uncle hurt you in Saturday too? You remember it. You remember how your mother let you down when you did KCPE. And remember Form 4, that teacher was so bad. And all of that you are carrying. No wonder you walk like this because of the kind of bad, because you don't know how to forgive. Jesus stood there, the people killing him was with him. He said, Lord, forgive them. They don't know what they are. And in case you say, but Jesus was God. Go to a guy called Stephen. They are throwing stones, and the stones are landing, one on the head, one on the back. He shouts, God, forgive them. They don't know what they are. Can you imagine if you found somebody who accepts you the way you are? You will trust them. Are we together? And it will be easier for him as a leader and easier for you as a follower when that is established. But because we all are going to let down each other, the only way you can last in leadership is you have the spirit of forgiveness. I've written a book on marriage called Overcoming Marriage Challenges. And I argue, if you get married and for a year you have never disagreed, be very suspicious. That's a bad marriage by nature. Very bad marriage. Why? Because either you or your wife or both are pretenders. And those are the type of people who seem to agree, 10 years into marriage, the girl just kills you. Now, so be very worried. If your wife never disagrees, you have no wife. If your girlfriend never disagrees with you, please drop her as quickly as. She is so desperate to marry you. She pretends she's not. Sometimes you step on her, she's sweet. That's a dangerous woman. If a girl tells you that is nonsense, that's a potential wife. Complicated. Because the way to know and live well is forgiveness. They are testing your forgiveness. They talk, and you can tell, I can't live with this person unless I forgive. Forgiveness is a glue that helps people to work together. And the relationship we talk about unity. So as a leader, you must have forgiveness. That does not mean that you don't stand for your values. Forgiving somebody does not mean you change your values. You all together? If somebody insults you and calls you a donkey, you know that's not something. So you tell him, by the way, donkeys normally have 4 legs. I suspect you may be blind. But if you open your eyes, you can see I'm only walking on 2 legs. So how did I become a donkey? I forgive you because you don't know what you're saying. So, but you must let the person know that it's not okay to insult you. Are we together? Yeah, so it's important. So do not, I think what I'm saying, accepting means you allow people to ride on you. It means you must tell them it is wrong. Are we together? Yes. And the moment they know you are clear who you are, if they really want a relationship, you start changing. That will be very important. I want to just look one story and I'm done. In 1 Samuel chapter 12. Here is David. He has actually fallen. But a story is used. You know, the prophet Nathan gives a story about a different case to help David to look at the other person and think how to judge it in order to judge himself. You know the story, isn't it? So he said, you know, that this guy, you know, he had many sheep, but when a visitor came, he actually decided to pick the only sheep of his neighbor. David was burning. That's a bad guy. I'm the king. He must be punished. Then the Nathan turned down and said, that man is you. What was David doing? He was judging that man, that rich man, with a different standard from what he was judging for himself. And that's a great weakness. And many leaders have that. They expect us to operate in a certain way, but then they operate above the law. And that's the principle that David was being taught by God. You must apply on yourself a higher standard than the standard you apply on others. In other words, whatever it is you are criticizing in others must not be found in you. Because, let me repeat it, you measure yourself with a higher standard than the standard used to measure others. Why must your standard be higher? Because you know yourself. Why must the standard on others be lower? Because you don't exactly understand their circumstance. Are we together? Now if you see a girl pregnant, surely you know it is wrong for her to be pregnant without a husband. So that standard will remain. It's immorality. But before condemning her, find out whether she was raped. I'm not complicated. Because you may be condemning somebody who requires sympathy, isn't it? So when you are a leader, I repeat, you measure yourself with a higher standard than the standard you apply for others. Can you imagine what kind of a fellowship? He was told that standard you are applying on others, you don't even admit it. And that's a very, very important principle to use. So leaders who apply a higher standard than the standard they use on others, even if you want to impeach them, it's a very important thing because it makes people trust them. Are we together? When they see you judging somebody because they are pregnant, and yet they saw you coming out of a lodging with a man, and they know what you did. Oh, you didn't become pregnant. That's not accepted. Remember, pregnancy is not a sin. It's what you did before the pregnancy. And this one did it without getting pregnant. This one did it and got pregnant. Are you getting the picture? Yes. So you need to come to where you have, it is true you are setting a standard. It is true what they have done is wrong, but you are able to forgive them. After pointing out that if they continue in that way, they are not only, now they are not pregnant, not only will they be pregnant, they will also be company witches in hell. Have you read the book of Revelation 21? In that place there will be dogs, witches, and people who do not serve the Lord. So you must make it clear to the person. But the important thing for the leader is you are clear about the stand, but in judging others, you judge themselves with a lower standard than the standard you apply on yourself. And it's a very, very important thing. My last point, because I can see mine has not finished saying, but this one has. Mine I still have a few minutes. So I didn't know that the long introduction was taking away my time. But my last point. Are you understanding these principles? Yes. Can you see how they apply, not to just as committee of the Christian Union, but to you as the leader in your family? Can you see how it applies? Yes. So you apply a higher standard on yourself or not. But lastly, for you to be a good leader, you must own up your sin. If you go to Psalms 51, you will see David acknowledging that Nathan was right. That man was him. Psalms 51. He says, against you and you only have I sinned. Just to make reference to Psalm 51. It's a psalm of repentance of David after he had slept with somebody else's wife. Now, if you really do not want to admit your mistakes, you will soon lose your followers. You know, somebody has just seen you say something that doesn't honor God. Then you are pretending you didn't say. Of course, he knows, everyone knows you did. But you're not willing to accept. Will I trust you in the future? No. The best thing is, a good leader, once you promise 1,000 kilometers and you've only made 200, start by saying, I made a wrong promise, forgive me. Are we together? That way we trust you. If you keep insisting on the same promise, we lose trust in you. And that is true. We can talk about politicians. It's true even of pastors. Everybody. We find it difficult to own up. We feel like if we own up, people will look down on us. But actually it's the opposite. Because David repented, the Bible, the New Testament describes him as a man after God's heart. Are we together? So the issue is not falling. All of us will fail. And I told you, the older you are, the more likely you have failed many times. So the issue is not how many times you have failed, but are you willing to accept that you have failed? Are you willing to accept that what you said, what you did was not right? Or even what you thought is not right? The moment people see you admitting something that you could not even have discovered, all of a sudden they say, hiya, this guy is honest. Between all the other people in this one, I will follow the one who is honest. Because he is willing to own up to his mistakes. So if you really don't want, those are the principles that I'm giving in part 1. I'll give more principles in part 2. But if you don't want to be a person who is going to be naked, please don't accept it. One of the promises of leadership is that you place yourself where everybody criticizes you. In fact, if people are not criticizing you, you are not likely to be a good leader. A good leader, when we meet for lunch, is him we discuss. So when you come around my table and discuss, we are sharing with the chairman, he should say, what's wrong with you? Now, who else were we to discuss? Remember, we only discuss the person who is making influence on us. Yes. So, people criticizing you, people analyzing you, when you hear them analyze, we say, I must be making an. So you need to come to where you are willing to honor when you are wrong. Of course, when you are not wrong, you don't say you have done something. When I've had somebody, yeah, here's this one. He's the one who took us to a place where we were being insulted. That's when I realized it was not my clothing. It's what we did on Friday night. I think it was Saturday night. Because every one of them, the executive, by the time that we used to meet, executives used to meet on Saturday afternoons, where there is Ukamano House. That time it was called a Chaplain Center. It's a wooden structure. That's where those who have been Kuno Nairobi and Ukamano House. There was also Ukamano House that time. So we used to meet there. By the time we arrived with the executive, the committee members were dying to tear me down. I've embarrassed the whole executive. And even as we started, Bishop Adoyo was our senior chairman then. And as we started, everyone was tearing for my blood. So, and they wanted us to start by discussing Nanga. Now, so I asked the chairman, don't we have an agenda for today? I thought Nanga is an AOB. And you don't start with the AOB and then the chairman said, yes. But people wanted us to do the agenda. in order to discuss? No. So it came how I had embarrassed the executive. So, again, I wanted to understand what I did wrong. So I asked them, who made a decision for the CU to be taken to Kenyatta Conference Center, KCC, whatever. Now they couldn't say it is me, because I was only a messenger. See, I brought the idea. The minutes are showing the executive made a decision. So who should be held accountable for misleading people about meetings? Everybody started cooling down. But the point is, it was the last week, we were doing exams the last week before we closed for a long holiday. As I left campus to go for holidays, I knew everybody is unhappy with me. I have no time to explain to them that what I did, I just gave the matter to God. Because I didn't intend to harm them, but they were very annoyed with me. But I gave the matter to God. If you agree to be a leader, you will be misunderstood. Are we together? If you want to be misunderstood, please run away from leadership. But you know, to my surprise, when we were now in the following year, after the 3 months, I was in utter shock when Bishop Adoyo, then brother, who came to my room to tell me that the electoral committee felt it is me to become chairman. How could I become chairman after such a mess? So the first thing was to say no. But he was very clever. He said, I don't want to know your answer. I'll come next week. Pray and tell me what God says. Me, I know what I will say, but he didn't want to know. He didn't want to know my opinion. He wanted to know what God, and of course God would not allow me to just say no. That's how I became chairman. I'm giving you that as a statement, tell you agree to become a leader, you'll be misunderstood. When you are misunderstood, and you have done nothing wrong, forgive the people who are misunderstanding you, hand over the matter to see him sort you out. Let us pray. Lord Jesus, it's easier to say these things, but very difficult to practice them. Especially as we are leaders in our homes, leaders in our classrooms, leaders in our neighborhood. And sometimes those principles are not easy to apply. I'm praying for everybody in this room that you ask them to use the principles to assess their leadership and find out what needs to change so that they can serve you better in whichever leadership role you have given them. And the ones that are going to come in as a new committee, help them to assess, are they willing to change and exhibit these values? In Jesus' name we pray.